how to get rid of the old noisy one with an improved quiet one.
Okay, this Saturday, what we're going to do is we're going to put in a new bathroom fan. And this you can see up here, we've got one of these old style, small little noisy fans that's basically ineffective. We're going to put in a new low-zone, Brown 100 CFM bathroom fan that's really going to draw, and we're going to ventilate it properly. Okay, this is what we're going to be using here today. We've got our low-zone or quiet Brown fan here, and this is the size of exhaust that we got on here. It's a full 3 1/4 by 10 exhaust, so we're going to transition that down into a round, a flexible 7-inch round piece of duct that we're going to take and exhaust it outside. The other fan that we had was just blowing right into the attic, and that's typical, and that's not good. So we're going to take this through to a roof vent or a soffit vent or a ridge vent, and these are some other tools we might use, a pair of electrical pliers that we're going to be cutting a wire with, and the pry bar, hole saw, maybe a screwdriver, and the hammer that we're going to use to get out the old fan. So what I'll do first here is I am going to take the cover off the old fan and look and see what kind of design that I've got. And I'll find the electrical supply for the fan motor, pull that cord out, find out my fan motor is screwed up in there, so I'm able to just take the fan motor and the whole fan out of there and see how it's connected. Then I'll determine the electrical supply, taking off the cover here, and get that cover off and I can see, and I'll disconnect the power supply from my fan box. Then after that, I'll determine exactly where the fan is connected to the rafter or whatever, and I'm just going to pound this old fan out. I'm going to pound it up into the attic. So it's scrap and debris will just fly up into the attic, and I'll be able to pry bar off any of the fasteners that's holding it onto the rafter. Okay, once I get that, then I'll grab my new fan. I kind of trace on I just put the fan right up there onto the ceiling. I don't use a template, all this other stuff. I'll just trace it right on there. Then I'll come back, get my nice hole saw for cutting the plaster. And this plaster is kind of chippy a little bit, but my escutcheon plate for the fan cover will cover that. And I'll cut my hole. I'll start along this rafter here so that when the fan is finally mounted, it'll go up against the rafter. And I'll cut out this plaster here, get it all the way around. And then what I'll have to do on this particular fan, I'll take it up. I'll have to take it up through the attic to drop it down from the top. I can't actually put the fan up through the hole because of the mounting brackets and stuff. I'll go up there and I'll drop the fan down from the top. And you can see when I'm going to drop that down from the top, with the ceiling rafter again, I can screw my fan right into the side of the ceiling rafter so I get a nice firm mount for that fan that cuts down the vibration and the noise. Then I'm going to put a new hole right through the metal housing here. You can see the nice insulation that they have on this, so it keeps it quieter running into the big fan motor. It's a good sized fan. Okay, we'll just screw in our last couple of screws here for the cover, and we'll just turn it on, and there you have it. Nice, quiet, efficient running fan.
Nothing like the sound of a quiet fan. Well,
Around the house for many of us. Each Saturday we like to bring you some hints on household projects you may have in mind. Well, this week Dale Cranston shows us some of the steps to replacing your toilet.
Okay, what we're going to do today is we're going to put in a new elongated toilet. And we've got a new tile on the floor we laid over the old, and we're going to put it onto our existing flange there. In here I've got my different parts that I'm going to need. I've got my Kohler Wellworth elongated toilet with the tank. I've also got, since I retiled the floor, I put in, I'm going to be putting an additional flange on here. My wax ring by which all life passes there, the bolt down kit, the supply tube, and here's maybe some of the other tools that I might be using. I've got my caulking to do the final set, a couple wrenches, and plumber's putty maybe, and let's get started. Okay, next we're going to put in our Easy Snap toilet bolt kit, and I like these because once you get them poked through the toilet, you can basically break these off, and they've got this little nylon holder, so when you put them in your little flange here, you get it in there, and then you see that kind of keeps it from pushing down in or something when you go to set the toilet on. Now we're going to put on our wax ring here. And what I do is I just put it right on the bottom there and kind of squish it on. Rather than put it on there on the flange, we put it right on the bottom of the toilet. So when this thing squishes out, and this is what keeps it from seeping out when you go to flush your toilet. So what we do is we put on that wax ring, and then we're ready to set the base down. We make sure it's on there good and tight. And then we're ready to set our toilet right on these bolts here. See if we can get this one here, first time go. You can kind of check to make sure your bolts are guiding through there. There you go. And then I kind of smash it on there. Okay, here I am. I'm going to put on the plaster attachment for this cover here and the bolt to bolt down the toilet here and get this thing bolted in. Okay, now here we're going to get ready to put the tank on. This shows the three bolts. 3-bolt design is what you want to get, is because a lot of times you have a 2-bolt and it makes the tank rock. So we're just going to set this right up on here. It's got the rubber gasket on it already. We're real careful. We're going to make sure we don't mess it up. Okay, now we're just going to attach it with our nuts and our washers. Nice brass and stainless steel washer there. And I'm going to bolt the back on. Okay, I'm going to attach my supply tube now. I use this, the gray flexible type. And what I'll do is I'll attach it to the bottom where it's supposed to go a little bit, and then I can check my length. So I'll get it here to this location, and I'll see how much I need. And I'll cut it a little bit long because it's flexible, so that so I'm going to cut it here. I see. Alrighty. Alrighty. Now when we go, I can tighten this up a little bit under here. This is the supply area. Tighten it up a bit. All right, now I'm going to put on the compression nut here and the little collar here to make the compression fitting. We'll tighten it right down in our supply. Once we get this tightened down, we should be ready to turn the water on. So we're going to tighten this up. Okay, now we're ready to turn on our water supply and check for leaks. So let's see what we get here. See if we can keep from getting sprayed on here. And it'll fill both here and down in here.
Check for leaks, good idea. More on the movie reviews when we come back.
Wiring the house with different holiday decorations. Well, some things you need to know. Are you a little leery about the electrical thing? Handyman Dale Cranston has some information on extension cords and the difference between cheap ones and not so cheap ones.
During the holiday season, we're plugging in Christmas lights and lights around the house, and we're using a lot of extension cords. And this is like Grandpa's old extension cord here that's real skinny. I think it's like probably 18 gauge or something. And these are now outlawed. The new ones are 16 gauge, 14 gauge, and they're a lot thicker. They can take a lot more abuse. And then this is the big daddy right here. This is like a surge suppressor type that's a good for extending a lot of outlets. Now this one here, the problem with it is it gets all heated up, and well, what happens is people leave it around after Christmas, and the wife plugs the iron into a light bulb or something, leaves the iron on. These cause fires, and that's why they've been outlawed. Okay, so you want to get rid of these. These ones are okay as long as you don't plug in electrical appliances into them, like heaters, like curling irons and toasters and things like that. And so you want to be careful with these too, because these can cause fires if you plug in the wrong thing to them. Notice they're not 3-prong plugs, okay? Now this one here, this is the new extension cord that's got 3-prong plugs on it. It's for heavy-duty use. You can plug in a lot of stuff. Sometimes you go up under the counters in your kitchen there, and you can plug them in or hardwire them in. And what they have is got an on and off switch here, okay? And they also have a circuit breaker on here. So if you overload this, it will trip right here and not cause a problem. So this would be good for that kind of a use. So you want to be having the right extension cord for the right use this year.
Makes sense. As American soldiers head to Bosnia and realize your house isn't exactly in the best shape you want it to be, well, the Wdiv handyman has some tips on how to make your kitchen look its best in a hurry.
This week we're doing a tile backsplash, and I've got our different components right here. We're going to do it over our existing Formica backsplash, and I've got my tiles. Now this is going to be a roping that I'm going to put in, a corner edge here, and I've got my glue and my notch trowel, and it's notched so that when you compress the tile onto the wall, that the glue has some place to go to, and they're kind of peaks so that you can the tile is peaked on the back so that it can make good contact on with the glue. So here I'm going to place it right here. We'll kind of key it in. Okay, we've gone right over our existing Formica backsplash, and that's fine. This glue is really good, and the wall tile doesn't take a lot of abuse. And I'm going to go over into here, and I've got my float here someplace. Now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how we grout. And now this is a float, how we apply the grout. It's kind of rubbery, soft kind of a surface. This is some grout for, unsanded grout for thin joints. And usually I add a little bit of latex additive to it. And mix it up here in my little container. And I'll scoop it out with my float, okay? And I'll kind of squish it in there real good to get it deep into the joints at a 45-degree angle to the joints. And then this roping here, maybe it's a little bit tricky. And I'll go down all the way along the countertop. In the end, the last bead that happens against the countertop here will have to be recocked, okay, because it'll flex a little bit. But we'll still shove grout in there at this point in time. And I'll let it set for a few minutes, and we'll wipe it up with a sponge or a towel. And there we have it. Nice finished tile backsplash that anyone can do.
He always does make it look easy, you have to admit.
I was going to say, I don't have that much time.
Okay, the bathroom, maybe even the kitchen. If you are thinking of redoing cabinets and drawers in your kitchen, WDIV's handyman says he's got a couple of inexpensive ideas that will make the kitchen look like you spent a lot of money on it when you're done.
What we're going to do today is we're going to put new cabinets into our kitchen. Now, this is what most people think of cabinets. They think brand new cabinets and boxes. And same with our base cabinet here, with a drawer box down here, new shelves, tearing out the old. And now, what we've done is this is an unfinished one. Alrighty, but that's a new box because we needed new cabinet space. But let me show you how we can save a lot of money. What we're going to do is these old cabinets, we're going to use those also. And we're going to be painting the inside and the outside of them, either spray paint or brush. And then we're going to put on nice new raised panel door to match our other new cabinets. That's going to give us this nice European raised panel look. And we're also going to be painting these, and it's going to be for a fraction of the cost. And also, down here on the drawer bases, okay, we've got our drawer here. We've just unscrewed off the old ugly drawer front, and we're going to screw on a raised panel one there. Because these drawer boxes are good. They got good slides, and they're good, solid built, even better than some of the ones we get today. So there we are, and we're going to paint it all up. You know, we're going to have brand new cabinet and a brand new cabinet look for a fraction of the cost.
Looks good. Now let's
Use your razor knife and kind of create an edge. It doesn't have to be a straight edge. It just needs to cut it and end it there. All righty? Now the other secret to this whole thing is to also prime your patch, prime your damaged area before you patch it. All righty? Because what you want to do is you want to stop the alkaline reaction that's in the plaster. Because lime is so strong, it's just going to burn right through any kind of traditional patching material. One more crucial part to this whole repair job is using the right joint compound to use it. You don't want to use standard joint compound. You want to use a setting type like Durabond, okay, which is available at any local hardware store or lumber yard. And it's more compatible with the lime in the existing plaster, and it won't burn off. Alrighty, sometimes you'll see the patches that are burning off, these old patches. And what I'm going to do is I use the hawk and trowel, and I mix it up. You have to mix this up. It's just going to be powder. I use a hawk and trowel, which is like a plaster method. And we're going to go ahead and make our repair. I'll start with this one, and I'll go back over a second coat with some of my old stuff that I had done a few minutes ago. Finishing the project, we'll put a couple more coats of mud on, smooth it out, and we'll sand it a little bit. Then we'll reprime it again with like a good oil-based primer. And that will seal again the properties, the lime properties that are even in this one. And then we can coat it in the end with latex if we want a good latex.